The sky above Earth was filled with fire. Massive alien warships floated like dark mountains in space, their glowing weapons ready to burn the surface. Cities had been destroyed in earlier attacks, and now only a few human fleets remain. The Zorth Empire had come to take Earth, and nothing had stopped them so far. On the human flagship Resolute, a man named Leo stood in the strategy room. He was not a soldier, but he had saved more lives than most generals. Leo was a scientist and a war planner. People called him the smartest man on Earth, but they also called him difficult, rude, and impossible to work with. Leo never cared about the names. He only cared about winning. The officers in the room watched him move pieces on the digital map. The map showed the orbit of Earth, enemy ship positions, and the remaining human forces. A nervous captain spoke. They outnumber us 20 to 1. Even if we gather all our ships, we cannot break their blockade. Leo did not look up. That's why we won't try to break it. We're going to make them come to us. The room went silent. No one understood. Another officer frowned. And how do you plan to do that? Leo smiled in a way that made people uneasy. We will send a signal. Not a distress call. Not a surrender. But something that looks like a massive power source. Something they cannot ignore. You mean a trap, said the captain. Yes, Leo replied. The Zorth Queen thinks humans are slow, predictable, and desperate. I planned to prove her wrong. The plan was risky. The humans would create a fake energy core using modified reactors on an old space station. It would send out a signal strong enough to make it seem like a new weapon was being built. The hope was that the Zorth flagship would move in to destroy it, leaving an opening for hidden human ships to strike. Preparations began quickly. Crews worked on the space station, installing reactors and transmitters. Small ships moved into hiding positions among asteroids. Every hour, the alien fleet circled closer to Earth, and every hour, more pressure fell on Leo to succeed. 2 days later, the trap was ready. The station lit up, its signal pulsing through space. The human ships waited in silence. In the control room of the Zorth flagship Virelia, Queen Viren sat on her throne-like command chair. She was tall, with silver skin and eyes like molten gold. Her voice was calm, but carried command. What is this signal? It is human in origin, but unlike anything I have seen. A Zorth officer bowed. Your Majesty, our scans show an immense energy reading from a station near the asteroid belt. It may be a new weapon. Viren's gaze sharpened. Humans cannot build such a weapon in the time we have given them. But if they think they can fool us, I want to see their attempt. Prepare the flagship to move. We will crush them ourselves. The alien fleet began to shift. The massive flagship led the way toward the signal. In the hidden asteroid field, Leo watched on his display as the plan worked. His fleet powered up weapons. Wait for my mark, Leo ordered. If we fire too early, they will pull back. The alien ships drew closer, their shields glowing. The flagship entered the station's range. At that moment, the hidden human ships surged forward, launching a storm of missiles and concentrated laser fire. The first wave tore through several Zorth escorts, sending them spinning into the dark. The station's reactors were overloaded, and in a brilliant flash, the entire structure exploded. The shockwave ripped across space, shaking ships and scattering debris. The alien flagship was caught near the edge of the blast. Its shields flickered. Parts of its hull scorched. The human crews cheered, but Leo's face stayed hard. They're not done. Brace for counterattack. Indeed, the Zorth ships recovered quickly, forming a defensive wall around the flagship. Their return fire was merciless. Several human ships were destroyed in minutes. Leo's fleet was forced to retreat toward a nearby moon, leaving the alien flagship damaged but still alive. On the Virelia, Queen Viren stood from her chair. Smoke curled from one side of the command deck. Her golden eyes were fixed on the battle reports. This was no random act, she said. Someone planned this very well. Her officer bowed again. Our scans show the signal was false, the weapon fake. It was a lure. Viren's lips curved into something close to a smile. Interesting. Find out who designed this attack. If they are still alive, I want them brought to me. Back on the Resolute, Leo leaned over the tactical table. The victory was partial, but it had bought time for Earth. The alien flagship would need repairs, and the humans could regroup. Still, the cost in lives was heavy. Leo said nothing about that, though others could see the weight in his eyes. A message came from the front lines. One of the scouting teams had been destroyed. No survivors were reported. Leo gave the order for the fleet to hold position and prepare for the next move. But the next move would not be his dot as the Resolute drifted in orbit. A sudden flash of light filled the viewports. Alien boarding ships had breached their shields. Using a short-range jump, before the crew could react, armed Zord soldiers poured into the carters. The defense teams fought back, but the attackers moved with precision. In the strategy room, Leo heard the alarms. He grabbed a sidearm from the wall, though he was no soldier. The door burst open, and towering Zorth warriors entered. Leo raised his weapon, but knew he was outmatched. One of the aliens struck him with a stun weapon. The world spun, and darkness closed in. When he woke, the first thing he saw was not the Resolute. He was inside a dimly lit chamber with curved metal walls. A soft hum came from beneath the floor. His wrists were bound by energy cuffs. Through the door, footsteps approached. The door slid open, and there she was, Queen Veering, in armor that gleamed under the lights. Her golden eyes studied him like a predator observing strange prey. "So," she said in a voice calm as ice, "you are the human mind that wounded my fleet." Leo looked at her for a long moment. Then, despite his situation, he smirked. "And you must be the one who needs better shields." The guards shifted uncomfortably at his tone, but Vireen's eyes did not leave his. For the first time in the war, the two minds that would change the galaxy faced each other. Leo sat in the chair, his hands still locked in glowing cuffs. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the alien ship's systems. Queen Veering stood a few steps away, her tall frame casting a long shadow across the floor. The guards at her sides kept their weapons ready, but their eyes flicked nervously between her and the human prisoner. Veering took a slow step forward. "You are the one who damaged my flagship. I expected a general or a warrior, not a thin man with messy hair." Leo leaned back, unfazed. "And I expected an alien queen to be too busy running an empire to visit prisoners." Guess we're both disappointed. The guards tensed at his tone, but Veering raised a hand. Silencing them, she studied his face, searching for signs of fear. There was none. "You are brave or foolish, perhaps both, or," Leo replied. "Just very good at reading people, even alien people." She ignored the remark and began to circle him slowly. "You lured my flagship into a trap. You destroyed several of my ships. No human has ever done such a thing in open battle. And yet here I am, still breathing." Leo said with a smirk, "Which makes me wonder why. Why not end this now?" Veering stopped behind him. Her voice was calm but sharp. "Because I wish to know how you think. Your kind fights with desperation, but you fight with precision. You predict moves before they happen. That is a skill I value." Leo tilted his head slightly. "You're not planning to make me an advisor, are you? Because my salary expectations are high." She stepped in front of him again. "I could use a mind like yours. But first, I must understand it." With a gesture, she ordered the guards to release his cuffs. The glowing bands vanished, and Leo rubbed his wrists. He was still surrounded, but the small act of freedom was unexpected. Veering motioned for him to follow. "Walk with me." They left the chamber and entered a wide corridor with walls of polished black metal. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the sides. Other Zorth soldiers and officers stopped to bow as their queen passed. Leo glanced at the alien crew members, noting their precision and discipline. "You run a tight ship," he said casually, "but I can already see to weaknesses." Vireen's golden eyes narrowed. "Go on. First, your people follow orders without question. That's great for loyalty, terrible for creativity. Second, you underestimate your enemies. That's how I got you into my trap." Some nearby officers hissed in anger at his words. But Veering raised her hand again. Her expression did not change. "Interesting. You speak freely even in captivity. Only way to speak." Leo replied. They arrived at a large observation deck. Beyond the glass wall, the endless darkness of space stretched out, dotted with stars. The distant shape of Earth could be seen, glowing blue and white. Alien warships drifted in formation like silent predators. Viren stood with her hands behind her back. Your planet is beautiful. It is also stubborn. Every time we think you are beaten, you resist again. Maybe that's why we've lasted this long, Leo said. Humans are stubborn by design. She looked at him sideways. And yet you know you cannot win this war. Leo met her gaze. Wars aren't only won with weapons. Sometimes they're won with ideas. Viren was silent for a moment. She could not decide if this human was arrogant or truly wise. Perhaps both. She changed the subject. The damage to my flagship will take time to repair. During that time, you will remain here. You may move about certain areas, but you will be watched. In return, you will answer my questions. Leo folded his arms. And what if I refuse? Her voice dropped slightly. Then you will remain in a cell until the repairs are complete. He thought for a moment, then shrugged. Fine, but I'm not promising polite answers. That earned him the smallest curve of a smile from the Queen. It was gone in a second. But Leo noticed. Over the next hours, Viren questioned him about human strategy, history, and technology. He answered in his own way, sometimes clear, sometimes sarcastic, but always sharp. She began to realize that his mind did not follow a straight line. It jumped between ideas. Making connections her own commanders would never consider in turn. Leo asked questions about the Zorth. Some she answered, others she ignored. He learned that their empire was vast, stretching across dozens of star systems. He also learned that she had been queen since a young age. After leading a victory against a rival species at one point, they stood again at the observation deck. Tell me something, Queen. Leo said, if you're so powerful, why bother taking Earth? You have hundreds of worlds. Her gaze stayed on the stars. Because Earth is at a crossroads, it is a gateway to the outer systems. If your people control it, they will grow stronger. If I control it, my empire is secure. And if no one controls it, Leo asked. She turned her eyes to him. Then it becomes a breeding ground for rebellion. Their conversation was interrupted by an officer rushing in. My Queen, we have detected unusual movement on the outer scanners. Unknown ships approaching. Viren's expression tightened. Not human, no, Majesty. Different configuration. Faster. She looked at Leo, who raised an eyebrow. Guess you're not the only one with enemies. Without another word, she ordered her crew to battle stations. The lights in the corridor shifted to red, and the hum of the engines grew louder. Leo was quickly escorted to a side chamber. Though not locked inside this time, from the doorway, he could hear the shouts of alien officers and the distant thud of weapon systems activating. He knew what this meant. Something bigger than their war was approaching. And for the first time since the war began, Leo saw something in the alien queen's eyes that matched his own. It was not fear. It was calculation. The board was changing. A new player had entered the game. The alien flagship Virelia moved through space with its weapons ready. The red alert lights bathed the corridors in a dim glow. Crew members rushed to their posts while scanning displays filled with strange readings. On the observation deck, Queen Viren stood tall, her golden eyes fixed on the approaching signals. They are moving fast, reported her chief officer. Their ships are organic in shape. No known match in our databases. Leo, standing a short distance away with two guards beside him, stepped closer to see the display. The incoming fleet looked unlike anything he had seen before. The ships were curved like giant shells, with glowing lines running across their surfaces. They're not human, Leo said, and judging from those energy readings, they're not here to talk. Viren turned her gaze to him. You know, something not much, Leo admitted. But I know trouble when I see it. The incoming fleet did not slow down. In minutes, dozens of the strange ships broke formation and spread out. A deep vibration ran through the Virelia as its shield systems activated. Identify them. Viren ordered. Her science officer shook his head. No records. They use unknown drive technology. Their weapons are biological. Leo frowned. Biological weapons? You mean the ships themselves are alive? That is correct, the officer replied. Before more could be said, the first wave of enemy fire hit the Zorth fleet. Bright streams of green energy tore through shields like paper. One Zorth cruiser exploded in a flash of light. The attackers moved with frightening speed, circling their targets like predators. The Varelia shook violently as another blast struck its side. Varian held the railing and shouted commands to her crew. Return fire. Target their lead ships. The battle raged, but the unknown enemy, later identified through emergency scans as the Krell swarm, seemed to adapt quickly. Each time the Zorth changed their weapon frequencies, the Krell ships shifted their armor patterns to resist. This is not going to work, Leo said, watching the chaos. You can't brute force them? Virene's eyes narrowed. Do you have a suggestion, human? Yes? Leo replied. Call Earth. She almost laughed at the idea. Call your people? They would rather destroy my fleet than help it. They'll help, Leo said, if you tell them the truth. Because if you don't, these things will eat your empire and mine. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Her pride warred with logic. But the Krell were tearing through her ships, faster than she had ever seen. Finally, she nodded. Open. A channel to the human fleet, she ordered. Within minutes, a shaky holographic image of Admiral Harlan from the Earth Defense Command appeared in the center of the deck. His eyes widened when he saw Varian and then narrowed when he noticed Leo standing beside her. Leo, are you a prisoner? Technically, Leo replied. But right now, I'm also the only reason you're talking to her instead of firing. Varian, step forward. Admiral, your enemy is now mine. These new attackers are a threat to us both. I propose a temporary alliance. Harlan hesitated. You expect us to trust you? I expect you to choose survival, Varian said coldly. Decide quickly. My ships are falling. Leo leaned toward the hologram. She's right, Admiral. These things adapt to every weapon we throw at them. We need to combine our tactics. Human unpredictability with Zorth precision. Otherwise, Earth is next. There was a long silence. Finally, Harlan gave a sharp nod. Agreed. We'll coordinate fire. Sending attack data now. The connection ended, and the joint plan began. Human ships moved in from the far side of the system, striking the Krell from unexpected angles. Zorth vessels provided heavy covering. Fire, Leo suggested patterns that forced the Krell to divide their forces, making them easier to hit. For the first time, the enemy's advance slowed. But the fight was far from over. The Krell ships began releasing swarms of smaller drone-like creatures that attached to hulls and drained energy. Target the drones first, Leo advised. Without power, our shields will drop. Varian relayed the order, and the combined fleet started clearing the swarms. The air on the Varelia was tense, filled with the smell of overheated machinery and the distant roar of weapon fire. In a rare moment of stillness, Varian glanced at Leo. You think like my best tacticians, but your methods are strange. That's because I'm not trained like your tacticians, Leo replied. I don't follow rules unless they work. Her golden eyes softened for a brief moment before hardening again. This alliance will last only until the Krell are destroyed. Leo smirked. Of course. I wouldn't want you getting used to me. Hours later, the Krell ships pulled back, retreating into deep space. The battlefield was littered with debris from both human and Zorth vessels. The cost was high, but they had survived. In the quiet aftermath, Leo stood beside Varian as damage reports came in. The Queen spoke without looking at him. You saved many of my people today. You saved mine too, Leo said. Looks like stubbornness isn't just a human trait. She almost smiled. Do not mistake this for friendship. Wouldn't dream of it, Leo replied, though his tone carried a hint of amusement. The Krell threat had forced them together, but both knew the real war was not over. The uneasy alliance was fragile, held together by necessity. Still, for the first time since the conflict began, Leo had a feeling that the galaxy might be about to change in ways neither side could predict. The alliance between humans and the Zorth was still new. Trust was thin, and suspicion hung in every meeting. Yet both sides knew they had no choice. The Krell swarm had not disappeared. After the last battle, scouts reported the enemy gathering in even greater numbers near a dense asteroid cluster. If the swarm launched again, neither Earth nor the Zorth Empire could stand alone. On the alien flagship Virelia, Queen Viren stood at the center of the strategy chamber. A large map projected the asteroid cluster and the positions of both allied fleets. Human Admiral Harlan's hologram stood beside her, with Leo leaning casually in the background. "We strike before they are ready," Viren said firmly. "If the Krell finish growing their numbers, we will not stop them." Admiral Harlan nodded. "Agreed. But your fleet will draw their main force. My ships will slip in from the far side of the cluster and target their breeding vessels." Leo stepped forward. "That plan will work for about 5 minutes before the Krell adapt. We need something unpredictable. Hit them from an angle they can't defend." Harlan frowned. "Such as?" Leo pointed to a narrow gap in the asteroid map. "There's a tunnel of open space here. It's tight, but fast ships can use it too. Get behind the swarm's main body. If we time it right, we hit their core ships before they even know we are there." Viren studied the route. "It is dangerous. One wrong calculation and the ships will crash into the rocks. That's why you send the best pilots," Leo said. "And since your people think humans are reckless, we're perfect for the job." Viren's lips curved slightly. "Very well, you will lead the run." Leo blinked. "Wait, me? I'm not a pilot. You are the mind behind the plan," Viren replied. "You will guide it." And so, a mixed squadron of human and Zorth ships prepared for the risky maneuver, while the main fleets approached from opposite sides of the cluster. Leo sat in the command seat of a small escort ship, wearing a headset that connected him to both fleets. Viren's voice came through the channel. "Stay alive, human. I would rather not explain to your admiral how his strategist crashed into a rock." "I'll try to avoid the embarrassing headlines," Leo answered. The attack began. The main fleets opened fire on the Krell perimeter ships, drawing their attention. In the chaos, Leo's squadron dove into the narrow asteroid tunnel. Jagged rocks spun slowly in the dark. The pilots had to weave and roll constantly to avoid collision. Enemy sensor pings grew faint as the swarm focused on the larger battle. Almost through, Leo called, "Steady." When they emerged from the tunnel, the view took everyone's breath away. Before them lay the heart of the Krell fleet, massive hive ships, pulsing with green light. Connected by streams of energy, smaller swarm ships moved between them like worker insects. "Targets confirmed," Leo said. "All ships, open fire." Missiles streaked toward the hive ships, striking their energy lines and sending shock waves through the network. The green glow flickered. The swarm's formation in the main battle began to break apart as their coordination faltered, but the victory was short-lived. Dozens of Krell fighters broke off from the main fight and swarmed toward Leo's squadron. The enemy ships were faster than expected, and soon the escort vessels were under heavy fire. On the Virelia, Viren watched the readings. "They are trapped," her officer warned. Her golden eyes narrowed. "Prepare jump coordinates. We are going in." Within moments, the alien flagship appeared near Leo's position, its massive guns blazing. The Krell fighters scattered under the sudden assault. Leo's ship took a glancing hit, alarms blaring as systems sparked. "Your timing is perfect," Leo said over the channel, his voice calm despite the damage. "You owe me," Viren replied. "Now finish what you started." With the flagship covering them, the squadron destroyed the remaining hive ships without their core vessels. The swarm began to fall into chaos. Allied fleets pushed forward, destroying scattered groups of Krell. Until the surviving enemy ships retreated into the darkness, the battle was over. But the cost had been high. Several human and Zorth ships lay in ruins among the asteroids. Rescue crews worked quickly to recover survivors. Leo's escort ship was towed back to the Virelia, where medics patched up a burn on his arm later. Viren visited him in the medical bay. She stood at the foot of his bed, her usual stern expression softened by something almost like amusement. "You take too many risks," she said. "And you showed up to save me," Leo replied. "I guess we're even now." Her eyes held his for a moment before she turned away. Do not mistake my actions. Losing you would have damaged our alliance. Of course, Leo said with a faint smile. Purely political. She glanced back at him, as if considering another reply, but instead she left without a word. As the door closed, Leo leaned back against the pillow. He had seen something in her expression, a flicker of trust. It was small, but it was there. The war against the Krell was far from over, but for the first time, Leo wondered if something stronger than necessity might be holding this fragile alliance together. The battle near the asteroid cluster had made Leo and Viren into reluctant partners. The Krell had been pushed back, and the alliance between Earth and the Zorth was holding still. Neither side trusted the other fully. Beneath the surface of meetings and battle plans, shadows of betrayal began to grow. On the alien flagship Varelia, Viren sat at the head of the strategy table. Round her were Zorth generals, their silver armor gleaming in the dim light. Some bowed respectfully, but others kept their eyes cold and unblinking. One general spoke, his voice low but sharp. Majesty, this alliance is dangerous. The humans are weak now, but if they survive, they will rise again. This man, Leo, is giving them more power than they deserve. Another added, end the alliance. Remove him quietly. The humans will have no mind to match ours. Viren listened without speaking. She knew many in her command wanted Leo gone. To them, he was a threat to Zorth dominance. But she also knew his ideas had saved her fleet twice. Removing him now would weaken them against the Krell. I will consider your concerns, she said, ending the meeting. But her mind was far from decided. Meanwhile, aboard the human battleship Resolute, Admiral Harlan was having his own secret meeting with senior officers. The hologram of Leo's last mission played above the table, showing the moment the Varelia had jumped in to save his squadron. One officer shook his head. He is getting too close to her, Admiral. If she turns him, the Queen will have every human tactic we know. Another leaned forward. When the Krell are gone, the Zorth will turn on us again. We cannot allow her to keep him. Harlan's jaw tightened. Are you suggesting? Yes, sir. Remove him from her side. Quietly. We will send a covert team to extract him, or if necessary, make sure he cannot give her any more advantage. Harlan stared at the table. He respected Leo's mind, but he could not ignore the risk. I will think on it, he said. Both sides were now making plans without Leo's knowledge. That evening, Leo walked through one of the Varelia's quiet observation decks. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. He had been thinking about the recent battles and the strange shifts in Viren's tone. When she spoke to him, she still kept her guard up, but she no longer treated him as just a tool. The door opened behind him, and she stepped in. Her armor was gone. She wore a simple dark uniform. It made her look less like a ruler and more like a person. You were quiet in today's meeting, she said. Everyone else was already loud enough. Leo replied, I prefer to speak when I have something worth saying. She came to stand beside him. And do you have something worth saying now? Yes, Leo said. The Krell will strike again soon. We need a forward base closer to their hunting grounds. If we wait for them to come to us, we'll lose more ships. She studied him for a moment. I agree. But many of my generals do not. They don't trust me, Leo said. Nor do your people trust me, she answered. He smirked. Seems we have something in common. For a rare moment, there was no tension between them. Just two leaders, staring at the same field of stars, knowing the same weight of responsibility. Later that night, danger arrived. Leo was returning to his assigned quarters when the Zorth soldiers stepped into the corridor, blocking his path. Their hands were on their weapons. Come with us, one ordered. Leo raised an eyebrow. And if I say no? The soldier's answer was to draw his weapon fully. Before they could move, another figure appeared from the shadows. It was Viren. Her voice was cold and commanding. Stand down. The soldiers froze, saluting stiffly. Majesty. I know exactly what you were about to do, she interrupted. Leave now. Before I decide you have no place in my fleet. They obeyed instantly, retreating down the corridor. Leo looked at her carefully. I'm guessing they weren't coming to give me a tour of the ship. Her eyes narrowed. Some of my generals believe removing you would make our empire safer. I did not share that view. You just saved my life, Leo said. You have saved mine before. She replied simply, consider us even. At the same time, on the Resolute, a human covert team had been dispatched toward the Varelia in a stealth shuttle. Their orders were to take Leo by force, if necessary. But when they reached the flagship's outer sensor range, they were detected and captured by Zorth patrol craft. The mission failed before it began. The next day, Viren confronted Leo in the strategy room. Your own people send assassins to retrieve you. I assume you did not know. Leo shook his head. No, but I can't say I'm shocked. They're afraid I'm giving you too much. And are you? She asked. He looked her in the eye. I'm giving you just enough to win against the Krell. After that, the galaxy will have to figure itself out. She held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. You are a strange human, Leo. And you, he said with a faint smile, are a strange queen. There was no laughter, but something passed between them, a silent agreement that neither would let their own peoples fear destroy what they were building. The alliance remained fragile, but now it was protected not only by strategy, but by a personal promise. And in the darkness beyond the fleet, the Krell swarm was already gathering for the next storm. The warning came at dawn ship time. Across both the human and Zorth fleets, alarms blared, and every screen lit up with the same signal. The Krell swarm was moving, not in small raiding groups this time, but as one massive wave. Thousands of bioships, black and spiked, surged through the void. The sky between stars seemed to boil as they came. On the flagship Varelia, Viren stood in the center of the command bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. Her golden eyes followed the swarm on the holographic display. They have committed everything, she said. This is their final strike. Leo stood beside her, his face pale but calm. Which means if we stop them here, we break their spine. And if we fail? Asked her second in command. Then Earth and Zorth both burn, Leo answered. Viren turned to her officers. Signal the fleet. All ships to battle stations. Activate the shield carters. Prepare the spear. Squadrons. Far away, aboard the human battleship Resolute, Admiral Harlan was giving the same orders. Tell the Zorth we are with them, he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the weight of the moment. He knew if this battle was lost, there would be no retreat. As the fleets formed up, the void between them and the Krell filled with silent tension. Then the swarm struck. The first wave of Krell bioships crashed against the outer defense lines. Zorth spear squadrons darted forward, their sleek craft weaving between the enemy. Firing bursts of plasma that burned through armor and bone. Human cruisers followed, their heavy cannons blasting the larger creatures into drifting fragments. But the swarm was endless. For every Krell destroyed, two more pushed forward. The void began to glow with explosions and the eerie green of Krell energy weapons. On the Varelia, a young officer shouted, "Shields at 70%. Quarter 3 has been breached." Leo studied the tactical display. We can't hold them in one place. We need to break their center. If we split them, they'll lose coordination. Viren frowned. Their center is heavily guarded. That's where I come in, Leo said. He pulled up a battle plan on the hologram. We fake a retreat in Sector 9, pull their center forward, then smash it with everything we have. It's risky, but if it works, the swarm will collapse. She studied the plan for only a moment before nodding. Do it? The order went out. In Sector 9, human and Zorth ships began to fall back, drawing the Krell deeper. The swarm leader took the bait. The center surged forward, eager to crush what it saw as a fleeing enemy. That was when Viren gave the second order. Now, from behind an asteroid field, a hidden squadron of Zorth dreadnoughts and human destroyers burst forward. They struck the Krell center from both sides, their weapons tearing through the largest ships. The swarm's formation began to twist and break, but victory was not yet certain. A massive Krell war beast, larger than any seen before, broke through the chaos. Its jagged body was covered in living armor, and its mouth glowed with a terrible Green light. It was headed straight for the Varelia. Target that beast. Veering commanded. The ship's main cannons fired, but the shots bounced off the creature's armor. It kept coming, ripping apart to escort ships in its path. Leo gripped the edge of the console. If that thing hits us, we're finished, Virene's eyes narrowed. Then we stop it before it reaches us. She gave the helm an order. Prepare a ramming course. Leo spun toward her. That's suicide. It will take the swarm's leader with it, she said. That is worth my life. Not if I have anything to say about it, Leo replied. Before she could stop him, Leo ran from the bridge toward the fighter bays. He grabbed a flight suit and jumped into a small, fast attack craft. Over the comms, his voice came through, tight but determined. I'm going to draw it off. Keep the Varelia safe, Leo. Return at once, Viren ordered. Sorry, Your Majesty. I'll explain later. The attack craft shot out of the bay and straight toward the massive Krell beast. It roared, turning away from the Varelia to chase the smaller target. Leo wove between its blasts, firing again and again at its glowing mouth. He knew he couldn't kill it alone, but he could keep it busy. On the bridge, Viren clenched her fists. Prepare all cannons. Aim for the target. Leo marks. Leo dove dangerously close to the beast, planting targeting beacons along its armored plates. Now, he shouted. A storm of plasma and railgun fire rained down from the Varelia and nearby human ships. The beacons guided every shot to the creature's weakest points. Its armor cracked. Its green glow flickered, and with a final shudder, the beast exploded into fragments. The destruction of their leader sent a ripple of panic through the swarm. Their coordination collapsed. Human and Zorth forces surged forward, cutting through the scattered Krell ships. Within hours, the battle was over. The void was littered with drifting wreckage, both alien and human, but the swarm was gone. On the Varelia, the crew erupted in cheers. Viren, however, did not smile. She turned to the comm officer. Find Leo's craft. When they located it, it was drifting, engines dead. A recovery team brought it back. The canopy opened to reveal Leo, pale but grinning. See, he said weakly, still alive. Viren stepped forward, her voice low but fierce. You're reckless. You could have died, and you would have rammed a war beast. He replied, I guess we're both reckless. She wanted to argue, but instead, she simply said, thank you. For the first time since they met, the war between their peoples seemed far away. They had fought together, risked everything, and won. The galaxy was quiet again, if only for a moment, but in the silence after victory, both knew the hardest part was yet to come. The battle was over, but the stars still carried the scars of war. Wreckage drifted between planets, silent reminders of the price both sides had paid. The Krell swarm was gone, their ships destroyed or scattered. For the first time in years, the galaxy was quiet. On the Zorth flagship Varelia, Queen Viren stood at the main viewport. She watched the debris fields pass as the ship moved toward the rendezvous station. Her people had fought with honor. The humans had done the same. Together, they had achieved what neither could alone. Behind her, Leo entered the bridge. He was wearing a clean uniform for once, though it was still slightly crooked. So, Your Majesty, he said, does this mean we can finally stop dodging plasma fire? It means. Viren replied, we move to the harder part, peace. He stepped beside her, leaning slightly against the railing. Peace is harder than war. She glanced at him. In war, the enemy is clear. In peace, danger hides in shadows. Not all my people wanted this alliance. I suspect the same is true for yours. Leo nodded. Some humans are already saying we gave too much to work with you. They don't see what we lose without it. The ship arrived at the neutral station, a massive ring-shaped structure orbiting a pale blue star. Here, leaders from both Earth and Zorth would meet to sign the peace treaty. The air was tense. Soldiers stood at attention along the docking bays. Diplomats whispered in corners. News drones hovered overhead, recording every moment. When Viren stepped off the Varelia, the human delegation waited to greet her. Admiral Harlan was at the front, his uniform spotless, his expression formal. He bowed slightly. Your Majesty, congratulations on the victory. Your forces fought well, Admiral, she replied. Leo walked behind her, hands in his pockets. He caught the Admiral's quick glance at him and the faint shake of his head, clearly. Harlan still thought Leo was trouble. Leo just smiled. The first hours were filled with formal speeches. Representatives from both sides praised the courage of their soldiers and the strength of their alliance. But beneath the polite words, tension stirred. Some Zorth nobles spoke in cold tones to human officers. A few human politicians avoided looking at Varian at all. Leo noticed the small fractures forming. During a break, he found Varian in a quiet observation room, staring out at the star. They're already looking for reasons to fight again, he said. She sighed. Old habits die slowly. Then maybe we give them new habits, Leo suggested. She turned to him. What do you mean? You and I started as enemies. We stopped trying to win against each other and started trying to win together. Maybe. The same can happen for our people. Not with speeches, with proof. Proof of what? That humans and Zorth are stronger side by side, he said. Before she could answer, an alarm blared. A security officer's voice came through the station. Speakers, emergency in docking base 7. Unidentified device detected. They hurried toward the bay. Soldiers were already evacuating the area. In the center of the docking platform sat a small metal case, blinking with red light, a bomb. Varian stepped forward, but Leo grabbed her arm. Let me. You are not trained in. Yes, I am, he interrupted. Just not in the boring official way. He knelt by the case, studying its design. This isn't Krell tech. It's sabotage. Someone doesn't want the treaty signed. Working quickly. He traced the wiring inside. Varian stood guard, her eyes scanning the crowd for any sign of the saboteur. At last, Leo pulled one last wire free, and the blinking stopped. He stood and exhaled. Done. Who would do this? She asked. Someone afraid of what comes after peace, Leo said. Could be from either side. Security teams swarmed the area, but the would-be bomber was long gone. The news drones had recorded everything, though, within hours. Every screen in the station was showing footage of Leo disarming the device. With Varian standing guard beside him, the unexpected incident shifted the mood. The delegates saw the human and the Zorth Queen working together to stop a threat that could have killed many. Arguments cooled, suspicion softened. By the next morning, the treaty was ready to be signed. In the great hall of the station, the long table was set with 2 identical scrolls. Varian and Admiral Harlan stepped forward, each holding a ceremonial pen. The hall was silent as they signed. When the final signature was placed, the hall erupted in applause. The war was officially over. After the ceremony, Varian found Leo in one of the quieter corridors. He was watching ships depart from the station windows. It is done, she said. Yeah, he replied. No more war. She stepped closer. You could return to Earth now. Your work is finished. He smiled faintly. And miss seeing how you terrify politicians. No thanks. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Varian said, You are not like other humans. And you, he replied, are not like other Zorth. They stood in silence. The weight of everything they had survived pressing between them. Outside the window, the first joint human Zorth patrol ships left the station. Their mixed crews a living sign of the new alliance. Varian extended her hand. Thank you, Leo. He shook it, his grin widening. Thanks, love. She froze for just a heartbeat at the word. Then, slowly, she smiled. For the first time, the peace between their worlds felt real.